which is the Meghan and Harry saga.
Oh, boy.
Now, you can sit back and say, this is the royal family. This is all very silly. What do we care? This is all taking place at a rarefied atmosphere. But it is a fascinating story, and we can't escape that. You know, when I was at People Magazine, people would say, well, hey, People Magazine. I say, look, a lot of what we cover may not be the most important thing, but it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's often illustrative of the way we live our lives and what's going on.
Yes, good point.
As we speak, we have seen 3 episodes of this Harry and Meghan documentary.
Okay.
There are 3 more coming this week.
Mm-hmm.
The British press is psychotic in the coverage of this series. They were covering breathlessly the previews and the trailers when they were released. There are 6, 7, 8 stories a day in the Daily Mail and other British papers savaging Meghan and Harry for having the temerity to complain about the way they were treated, for disrespecting the Queen just weeks after she died, for being unfaithful, disloyal, money grubbing, you name it. And I have not seen a lot of defense of Meghan, certainly not full-throated defense, from any quarter since this began. Mm-hmm. You and I were watching Saturday Night Live over the weekend, and Steve Martin and Martin Short were the guest hosts, and they were trading one-liners back and forth. And Martin Short had a one-liner saying, Steve, we're like Meghan and Harry. No, we're like the Meghan and Harry docuseries. No one's really rooting for us, but you'll watch anyway. And I thought that was a great line.
Yes.
And not necessarily incorrect.
Right.
I could go on forever about this.
Yeah.
I found the show boring.
Go.
I found the series almost unwatchable.
The documentary.
Yeah.
I love that.
I literally turned it off when Meghan was in a car cruising around L.A., going past the places that she, that were instrumental in her growing up, and then driving past the Hollywood Bowl and saying, "This is where I graduated high school." I'm like, well, that's where the Beatles played too, but who cares about that? This is about you.
Yeah.
So, is she self-absorbed? Does she come off as self-absorbed? Yes. Mm-hmm. Does it warrant the way that this woman has been treated over the past 4 or 5 years? I don't think anyone should be treated like this. And again, the reduction of her to this stereotype, to this kind of combination of Lady Macbeth and Leona Helmsley, our older listeners will know.
I love the way you just put this stuff out there.
Our older listeners will know who Leona Helmsley is. And our more educated listeners will know who Lady Macbeth is.
Well, then go read about okay, wait. Leona Helmsley's nickname was the Queen of Me.
There you go.
It's like, wake up.
And, she was famous for mistreating the staff at her hotels, for being, a complete sort of publicity whore. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And like I said, the reduction of that by the British press and by extension the American press is shocking. There's no subtlety in the story. Now, perhaps because it's royalty and we're talking about almost instinctive stereotypes, the prince, the princess, the evil queen, whatever it may be, that these are things that we grew up with, that it is inevitable that we will cast these people as stereotypes.
Yes.
But the degree to which this has been going on, and to me the kind of almost open misogynistic and racist qualities are palpable. Mm-hmm. That said, listening to Harry and Meghan complain about it can be a bit tiresome.
Right.
And they are falling into all the traps that the British press sets for them about, I thought you wanted to be private, yet you're making a documentary. Right. I thought you wanted to, not take the money, but look at you living in this Montecito estate. I mean, the look is not good.
Right. The optics are not good.
They're terrible.
Right.
And they seem oblivious to that.
Yes.
We'll see what happens in these 3 episodes that are dropping this week. Maybe there'll be some very explicit attacks against individuals or about the monarchy. But thus far, it's all pretty, kind of limp.
They've already done it.
Exactly.
They went on Oprah.
And they did it in a much more effective way on Oprah.
Yeah, at a certain point, so two things to respond here, right? So it seems like you're surprised at the degree to which the British press has jumped on them.
I'm not surprised by the degree.
Let's face it, what are they going to do?
Well, I'm not surprised by the degree.
They're not owned, but they're like in with the monarchy.
Well, also, okay, they're being attacked. The most explicit and pointed attacks from Harry and Meghan are about the British press.
Okay.
Which is and I know these guys, believe me.
No.
This
and
is a rabid.
From whence you speak.
Indeed.
Yes.
So this is a rabid group of people.
Of course.
Who
Look what they do for
like
a living.
to tell stories. So the idea that they are
Think lawyers are bad?
Well, so they're enraged by Harry's behavior.
Right.
But there's 7 or 8 stories on every homepage. Why? Because people read them.
Right.
So they know that this is the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely.
And the more they bait them, the
Right.
more stories they have.
Right.
All right. They don't really care. The Daily Mail editor is not going to bed going, I'm so angry at these people. He's like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Piers Morgan fulminating about how, what an ungrateful bitch she is. He doesn't really care.
No.
It's column fodder
Of
for
course.
him.
Right.
You and I
Right.
talked about Piers, and I don't want to pick on Piers. I actually know Piers a little bit.
No, okay.
He had
We're
the
not
interview.
picking on him.
He has an interview with Cristiano Ronaldo
Picking on everybody.
last week, right?
Right.
Where Ronaldo attacked the coach at Manchester United. And for whatever you might think of Cristiano Ronaldo, he clearly is a guy who has no sort of ego issues.
Right.
He's very self-important.
Right.
Had he given this interview to somebody else, you can imagine the British press, Piers Morgan included, attacking him for being a selfish, horrible, over-the-hill Portuguese.
Right.
But he gave it to Piers.
Right.
So Piers isn't going to complain about it at all.
But that's the business, right?
course it is.
That's like, what Michael said in The Godfather, this is the business we have chosen.
Right.
So you have to sort of expect that. What was interesting to me was, you were really reacting to the degree,
Yes.
again, to which they were coming after
Yes.
them. And
I mean, it's Christmas time, for God's
well,
sakes. How about a little
there's
charity
a lot
and
of other
forgiveness?
things too. Do you bite the hand that feeds you, and you're sort of saying they're not feeding me? It's like, excuse me.
Right.
I mean, come on.
It's a
Give
hard
me
argument for
20
him to
million
make.
to go out and into the world and
Right.
find myself.
Right.
Right. The other thing is that I think they aired a lot of things. I mean, he has a book. Right? They went on Oprah. They talked about things. They made their claims and they made their case. Okay, looking at this, let's say they were in a courtroom. They made their case. Here's why we're doing this, right? The interesting thing is when you say certain things, they're based on allegations and you have no evidence, no real hard evidence, right? Very, very difficult. You get into a situation of he said, she said, and do I really believe them? Or do I think they're just angry and maybe not realizing and overreacting?
Well, exactly. And I don't know what the end game here is.
Me neither.
So a couple of thoughts. So there's 3 episodes that are still to come. There's a book from Harry coming out in January called Spare. It's his biography. If over 6 hours of documentary footage, there's going to be something new in the book. Well, if I were the documentary filmmaker, if I were Netflix, I'm going to be incredibly pissed off that whatever that might be is going to be in the book. So my point being that I don't think there's going to be anything new in the book.
No.
And if there is...
Well, I don't know what it is. What is it?
Well, I don't know.
I don't get it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look,
we agree on that.
He keeps hinting at the, this whole promo in the beginning is like, we know the truth, they know the truth. Okay, well, tell us the truth then.
Well, but you want to sell books. What are you going to do? Say, oh, there's nothing in here that you want to read about? No, you're going to bait it up like that.
But I mean, is he going to attack his brother or his father? We'll see what happens in the subsequent episodes.
I mean,
look, these episodes are sitting in the can at Netflix. If there's anything really good in them, I have to imagine it would leak out. When Oprah did the interview, the time between the interview and the Oprah airing was very short. Why? Because people were looking at the video and they were going to tell people what was in it.
Right.
So if this thing is sitting at Netflix and people are screening it and looking at it and all that, and you've heard zip.
Right.
Look, maybe they have a very good security system, but my guess is there's nothing really incendiary in there.
Correct.
Because we've been down this road already.
Yes.
So I kind of find it kind of boring.
Yeah.
And I don't think the net effect over 6 hours is increasing sympathy for them.
No.
Because you sit there and you look at it and you go, what is the point?